think some people are worried that people are sick of AI panels, but clearly we're not there yet. So thank you for showing up. We're so excited to dive into the topic today, so I'm not going to waste much time. First, I do want to thank the presenting sponsor, iTac Solutions, Ben Branch, Christy team. Thank you so much for sponsoring this and making this possible. And so today we've got a great conversation. We've got 4 great panelists here, and we're going to talk about insights from AI-powered ventures. And so to begin, I'm going to introduce everyone to save a little bit of time. I think 2 things that we've figured out now is, 1, we're kind of bursting out of these walls, and 2, 30 minutes is probably too short. So we'll suggest that for next year. But Rich, I'll start with you. Rich Denton is a co-founder of Tequila Automation, a global organization helping clients leverage intelligent automation to handle their tedious tasks. Tequila Automation has an innovation center here in Birmingham. Next up, Kayla Carnation is a data science and AI engineer at Analytical AI, a Birmingham-based company that creates and implements AI solutions designed to make the world a safer place. Keyona Meeks is the founder and CEO of Rerev, a business consulting agency that uses AI automation and no-code tools to optimize operations for startups and small businesses. And last but not least, Rebecca Clyde is a co-founder and CEO of Baco AI, a Bronze Valley accelerator company that empowers enterprises in the healthcare and government space through the use of a generative AI chat cloud. Thank you all for being here. So to get started, we're going to start at the top. Kayla, this is a question for you. What is AI? Can you help us demystify it? We're starting at the very, very top.
That's a big question. So when I think of AI, I think of 2 kind of distinct but very related notions. I think first of the kind of like literary sci-fi conception of artificial intelligence that we all had before, LLMs kind of crashed into our lives so quickly about, I guess, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And that people are calling like artificial generalized intelligence, and we kind of measure that intelligence based off of human metrics. So we think about, can this AI understand us? Can this AI think for itself? Can this AI do things that humans could also do? So that's kind of like human metrics. And then I think we also have kind of the machine learning that's been around since the 40s and 50s that are models that what the LLMs are actually comprised of. And so then we have like the kind of utility AI that we use every day that's comprised of the models and the deep learning. That's just kind of like a bunch of equations and numbers. And then I think we also have like this other idea of intelligence, artificial intelligence, that maybe is close, maybe is not close. I don't think we really have an idea of that yet.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Anybody else want to quickly add to that definition? Yeah, I think that's good, Rich.
Yeah, so I think saying this in front of an AI panel is crazy, but I actually don't really know what AI is. I think it seems to be a lot of different things, and ultimately the ability for computers to start to think and act like humans is my interpretation of it. But as part of that, you have a lot of different aspects of AI. So large language models, you've got natural language processing. You've got neural networks and other things as well, and they're all used for different things. Obviously, the advent of Gen AI has kind of thrown a new spanner in the works. So with Gen AI, you've got a lot more context, a lot more content being created. But a lot of the tools that we use generally are much more specialized. So again, using machine learning to train models, entity extraction. So being able to pull information from data or from previously unstructured forms of communication, and so yeah, putting all those together using different tools has been really important for us.
Love that. Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about how you all are using this AI that's still kind of hard to define and demystify in your businesses, and that will give the audience members a way to really see, how it's impacting your organizations and making an impact in your business. So, Rebecca, I'll start this question with you. How have you used AI in the last few weeks to help your company?
I mean, we use it every single day, but just to get a show of hands, how many people have ever made a phone call and been placed on hold for an inordinate amount of time? Right, all of us. And that's essentially what my product is resolving. There's a huge bottleneck because there's simply not enough people on the other side to pick up the phone whenever you call one of these businesses, organizations, airlines, whatever it is that you're interacting with. So what we have built is an AI system that essentially closes that gap and gets all of your questions, because somebody has called with a similar question to yours before. So we've trained models to understand what are these questions and how do we create workflows to fulfill these requests without ever having to put a person on hold, place a person on hold, and aggravate them with long hold times. So every single day we're building fine-tuned models using these large data sets, which might include call center transcripts, chat transcripts, workflow automations in order to facilitate that. And literally once a week at least, we're bringing online a whole new customer, so maybe a new healthcare organization, a new government agency, a new financial services business, so that whoever their customers are, they are reprieved finally from having to wait endlessly on hold. And that's something that we just dedicate ourselves relentlessly to.
I love that. Keyona, what sort of results should users expect with AI? Should this revolutionize their business right away? Is it that easy?
Yes. Welcome to now 3005. So when interacting with AI and when I'm teaching about it or like showing businesses how they can interact with it, very intentional to be like, I love the framing of you're the manager, it's an employee. So you should not be expecting it to be able to like do everything that you could possibly want it to do so you can go on vacation and run your company from the Bahamas. Not yet. Give it a few years. So really the results that you should be expecting when you're interacting with it, they need to be tempered, because always, for the next many, many years, if not forever, we'll always need to have a human in the loop. When we're using these AIs to make our strategy more concise or to help us with marketing in the myriad of ways you can do that, that doesn't happen just also like the first time you put it in. Very big on being iterative with the AIs that you're using, especially, I'm sure, quick show of hands, who uses ChatGPT on a weekly basis and or another LLM like Claude or Gemini. When you're using them, you have to go back and forth with it, because that first result may not be exactly what you were looking for. And if any of y'all are local, then you were probably at Generator's Health Tech showcase the other night. And Kelly Clark, a local legend, by the way, she made this very awesome statement where the most effective habit a business person can have, or a human working professionally, is clarity. And using these LLMs to gain clarity is such a powerful way to integrate it into what you're already doing on a daily basis. Because sometimes you have a general idea. You're like, I need to tell this investor that I hate them and never want to see them again. ChatGPT, how do I do that without burning my bridges? And it can honestly, it's done that multiple times. I've given it complex human problems and been like, I need you to rewrite this text for me before I lose my relationship with my mother, And it's so good at it. So you don't need to know how to get there. You can use these LLMs to help you on the way, but being cognizant that means there's a human in the loop the entire time, and that you're gonna have to go back and forth before you get the result that you're really looking for, and that's business ready.
I love that. Thank you. Kayla, so we're talking right now about generative AI and large language models, but in the intro definition you gave, you also spoke about these other types of artificial intelligence that's been around longer. Could you give an example to the audience of a project that you've worked on where you can really showcase how AI is able to, for analytical AI's mission to move that forward?
Yeah, so Analytical AI, we're an image-based AI company. So we make algorithms for different parts of the government, the TSA, Air Force, military, the Customs and Border Protection, and all of our AI is image or video-based. So we use a lot of convolutional neural networks. It's a different kind of neural network to kind of capture image data. And one project that I'm really, really excited that I'm working on, I call it the Abandoned Bags Project. So there's a lot of public places, they're called soft targets. So these places are like amusement parks or big event spaces like this that are often the target of, like mass shootings or like bombings. And so I'm sure all of you guys remember the Boston Marathon, a huge event, tens of thousands of people in like a really small space. And somebody left a bag there and they put a bunch of explosives in the bag. And the bag, and so they left it there. They went away and then it exploded. It killed lots of people. It harmed even more. So one project that we have right now is to be able to identify when a bag is abandoned. So we have a video feed and we detect the bags and the people, and we detect when a bag is abandoned, and then we're able to track where the person went or possible people who could have owned the bag or, associated with the person that owned the bag. And I think what this allows us to do is kind of like multiply our human efforts, because we don't want AI to replace us, and I don't think it should replace us, especially in the realm of security where biases are very important to be kept in check. We kind of want AI to be this like secondary, like sixth sense where we can just like have that extra perception, because like when you look at those like in the TV shows where there's like a security guard and they're always like eating potato chips and there's like 12 screens and then like somebody's like sneaking in the corner with like they're like, oh, I'm gonna go attack this person, and then so there's 12 screens and one person who's up all night with their potato chips, like they are not going to catch every single thing that happens. And so what we want to do, Analytical AI as a company, we want to be able to facilitate that process. So like, instead of watching 12 screens where it's like, okay, I have to look at every single corner of every single screen to see if maybe there's like anomalous behavior or somebody has a smirk or somebody's tiptoeing or somebody like pushed someone. Instead of that, we can just kind of have a bounding box and be like, okay, this is happening right here, and alert the guard so that the guard has more energy and more capability to address the situations that need to be addressed. And I think that's kind of a theme that underlies all of our projects right now. And I know you said one project, but there's another little project that I wanted to mention. We're working with the Customs and Border Protection. That's another project that I'm on, and that's the one I've been working on a lot recently. We just got this contract, and so I don't know if you know this, but there are like hundreds of thousands of vehicles every single day that cross through the border between Mexico and Canada. It is impossible for every single one of those vehicles to be scanned. And there are so many drugs that are being just pushed into the country every single day. And we can't even scan all the vehicles. And so what we're doing right now is trying to detect anomalies so that some of the drugs that are, like causing a real crisis in the United States right now can start to be detected. And so it's not about AI replacing the jobs of the Border Patrol agents, but helping them in those long, like 20-hour shifts they have just staring at all of these computer screens and images.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, Rich, I got a question for you. So we just heard Rebecca, Keyona talk about these more generative AI use cases and the value that they're bringing to their organizations. And Kayla there just talked about more of a specialized AI case. A question I hear from business leaders often is like, which one of those do I need? Can I use ChatGPT for this business problem, or do I need specialized AI for this? Tequila automation oftentimes can deal with both. So how do you think about that and kind of matching the right AI with the right problem?
Yeah, so for clarification, we're a implementation partner. So we're not a product company. We implement different bits of software. So we might implement chatbots, for example, conversational AI. But we primarily work with a number of different and selected AI tools and automation tools. Sorry, repeat the question.
Yeah, so how, like, if a business leader is thinking, can I use generative AI or should I use specialized AI? How can they make that decision?
So I think the most important thing really is to think about the problems that you're trying to solve rather than the technologies. I think it's very easy these days to get caught up in the technologies. We actually, we have one slide that actually shows all of the different potential technology that you can use now, and it's overwhelming, and there's nobody in the world that's going to know all of that stuff. So it's really important to think about what are your business problems you're trying to solve, one. But two, also now thinking about what else could we do or could we solve and achieve with AI? So product companies, for example, they're kind of solving problems that maybe don't actually exist, and they're giving you a new feature. Our job mainly, we're solving existing problems. So a good example at the moment, we work with a health company that does claims processing, nowhere near as exciting as Kayla's example, but it's a very big problem that they've got as an organization. They process millions and millions of documents every year, and previously they've had people going in manually, taking information from a document, plugging it into a system, doing some comparison, nothing super clever, but just some comparisons, checking to make sure that the claim is legitimate. And we've gone in, we use intelligent document processing. So that's an IDP, it's a form of machine learning as part of the product suite that we work with. And we're able to classify the documents. We're able to say, is this actually a receipt? Is this actually a statement? And once we've classified and confirmed what that document is, we can then go and extract the actual entities from that document. Now, there's still some challenges even after doing that. But that's an example where a real kind of specialized invoice-specific model, receipt or statement type model is a really good solution rather than Gen AI can solve that problem to some extent. Problem for me is it's a little bit black box, and you're not kind of guaranteed to get the 100% accuracy that you might expect from an IDP and a specialized model.
Yeah, I love that. The last thing you said, especially, which is if you have a problem that requires 100% accuracy, and you've got like a very well-defined output that you need, like we need to know if this bag needs to be looked at, or we need to make sure this record is exactly right. Like that's when you should think more about specialized.
Yeah, we've been playing around with analogies, and I think my favorite one so far is about like a general practitioner or a family doctor. They have a lot of knowledge, a lot of information about a lot of different things. They might be able to solve the problem, but to really get into the nitty gritty of a big, like a brain tumor or something like that, then you might want to go to a neurosurgeon and just kind of get that extra specialized knowledge, more data, and so on. I'm not sure if the analogy fully works, but
I like it. I think it's pretty good. Well, great. Those are great examples. So we've looked internally and still thinking about like, okay, how can we solve our own problems and how can we solve customer problems? I want to really turn our attention now towards like client expectations, their needs, their concerns. I'm a co-founder of a AI first startup called Dev Clarity, and there's certain expectations that when we go out to market with a product that's using AI, there's expectations from our customers, there's needs from our customers, and so just starting to think about what are those needs and the concerns mentioned by customers, and when our organizations start to use AI. So Rebecca, back to you. When we were preparing for the panel, you mentioned an interesting poll that your team performed around AI concerns. Would you mind sharing that with the audience?
Sure, yeah. So we studied about 1,000 business executives and asked them what was more important. Was it accuracy of information, so the correctness of an answer? Was it privacy and security and handling that data? Or was it preventing bias? So 3 really important things, and I thought that we would come pretty close in terms of, a third. But what was really interesting is that they said accuracy of information was the number 1 requirement that they had. And so what we did with that information is we built into our product an audit trail so that every time our chatbots give a response, there is an audit trail of how that response was generated, what sources were utilized to generate that answer, and what our confidence score was against each of those data sources. So it's almost like every iteration of the chatbot or everything that you said had like documentation, like references associated with it, so that if for whatever reason our customer doesn't like one of the answers or says, hey, that answer maybe wasn't correct, they can go back to the source of the data that maybe was giving the wrong answer, or was, maybe it was outdated information, or maybe somebody had allowed an incorrect data point to enter the training system. And what we discovered through this process is it's really, before you even embark on your AI journey, making sure that you have clean data, up-to-date data, and that you're constantly keeping good data hygiene is super important, because right now, if we feed it with bad information, it's just going to generate bad information. And so that's something that we really think a lot about in terms of how we deliver accurate responses every time that the chatbot is interacting with someone.
Thank you. That's great. Keyona, how do you, what concerns do you hear when you're going out to customers who are looking to implement AI, and how do you work around those concerns?
Absolutely. So I have an investor background. My first job was actually with Bronze Valley. I don't know if I told you that. Yeah, no. So I have, I think, a very unique benefit of having a clear understanding of the big picture. What does it look like from a company to go from idea to profitable and funding ready? I've been along the journey with founders as they're going through that fundraising process and that evaluation process, as well as on the other side of things with through Rerev, where we're getting into the dirt. What are the operations? Is your strategy aligned with your ICP? That kind of a thing. So when it comes to like client expectations, every serious inquiry that we have after the intro call, we have an evaluation, right? So I need to know the problem that you want solved. Do we actually need to solve that problem? And the benefit of my background is I have a pretty good clarity on, because if you just need a website done and you want a rebranding, cool. There are agencies that do that. There are agencies that will help you, clear up who your ICP is and write up strategies in communication and copy with them, and then help you do that rebrand launch so you're talking to them both aesthetically and through your copy. But when we're talking about other business problems, like maybe you've got a sales bottleneck and you're like, I think AI is going to fix this. Maybe. It might. So we temper expectations by actually delving into the problem first, getting a nuanced understanding of what it is that they're actually going through and what their expected outcome is, so we can build an operational path that actually makes sense. Because I'm a minimalist at home. Don't look at my closet. It won't support that claim. But I am. If you move around a lot, then you quickly become a minimalist too. And so that philosophy of let's only add in technology as we need it, because it very well may be and probably is your strategy or your execution path, that's where the problem lies. And once we address that and have clarity on where they are and where they want to go and the fullness of that problem, then we can integrate AI as appropriate.
Yeah, love that. Start with the problem. Love that. Kayla, analytical AI's client is often the U.S. government. What are their expectations?
I think it's tricky with the U.S. government. So like they're big, it's the U.S. government, and different parts of the U.S. government work independently. So one time we work with the TSA, another time we'll work with the Army. Right now, the CBP, they have never worked with an artificial intelligence company before. So like we have to approach each client kind of differently. With the CBP, we're kind of making up the rules as we go. Like for example, we told them, okay, we have this pre-trained model. Can we get it onto your network? They're like, oh, we don't have a protocol for that. Or like, really? But anyway, so when you imagine the U.S. government adopting new technology, you really think like, okay, how good can this be? Like it takes forever to get any kind of legislation passed. Like we imagine the U.S. government as this like giant, slow-moving dinosaur that doesn't really get anything done. But honestly, in my experience with working with them, they have a lot of programs, I think, think, that's have been trying to like expedite the process of developing technology to help U.S. security. And I also want to distinguish between like, you know, algorithms for like offensive, like attack algorithms, which we haven't dealt with at all, versus like security algorithms that are meant to like keep people safe, identify anomalies in bags in the TSA checkpoint or on-person screening. And so they have a lot of programs and a lot of like funding available to try to develop these technologies, and they have clear roadmaps for implementing them as well. So I've actually been really impressed by like the speed at which they're being adopted. I don't know if I can like share with you the exact like time of like, or like the exact like roadmap for our projects, but it's a lot quicker than you would expect. I think that, you know, in a time when technology is developing so quickly, especially, you know, everybody has access to these LLMs now that have every fact on the internet. So the kind of malicious agents have so much more at their disposal. We need to develop these technologies very quickly. And I think there's a balance between developing these technologies quickly and making sure that we're not developing them too quickly, where we're having like human rights concerns. And I think that it's kind of up to the companies developing them to make sure that that's not an issue. Like for example, for our abandoned bag algorithm, we have like a facial obfuscation technique where, you know, because, you know, when we're getting data to train on, there might be like implicit biases in that data, like that have to do with maybe the gender or the race or you know, the body weight of the person. We've obscure the face so that the algorithm detecting the people abandoning the bags only has to do with who's abandoning the bags, not like individual facial features or any kind of bias that the algorithm can adopt. So I think like when dealing with the U.S. government, one, they're pretty quick, which is nice. Two, I think it's a lot of responsibility that we're constantly refining and making sure that we're being responsible and making something that we feel comfortable putting into the world.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. That makes me more optimistic. I don't think I've ever heard quick when someone's mentioned the U.S. government before. So that's awesome. Rich, what have you seen with your customers around their needs and concerns, expectations?
Yeah, it varies quite a lot. So some companies will just kind of immediately just shut down anything to do with AI. You know, they'll do automation, but then it comes to anything AI, and it's like no blanket, no. Which is interesting because the products we work with are kind of a hybrid. So we might have a product that's approved to work with from an automation perspective, but then you're not allowed to use the aspects of it that is AI related. So we've got an example right now with a client who wants to potentially use OpenAI, but there's some really interesting considerations that I hadn't even thought of until they came up. And one of those was there's different data laws in Europe versus the US. You can tell I'm actually not from Alabama originally. But so there's different laws in Europe. So then you ask questions like, well, what if the data originated in Europe but is actually being processed in America? Like how does that transcribe? So you've got legal situations to think about, and then the security side as well. So you can get a private instance of OpenAI. Then you have to pay for it. And then we were talking about the cost of that, and it's something like 5 cents for every million words or something like that. But actually the words add up quickly because you've got a prompt engineer, and then you've got to prompt. You've got to give enough prompting and enough information for the Gen AI to make the right decision coming back. So there's a lot of implications there in terms of additional costs, additional security. And one of the big things that customers often talk about is they don't want their data to be leaked, but they also don't want their data to be used for training other models, which it's kind of, I don't know, it's probably maybe an overly concerned approach, but you kind of understand that. So one of the things that's really important is when you're working with a product company, they have that kind of level of certifications. They have like an AI trust layer where there's you're confident that the data you're providing to that product is not being then used for training or, of course, being sent anywhere else. And that's probably one of the biggest problems with OpenAI, if you're obviously not using the private instance. And even with the private instance, you're still sending data to OpenAI. Right. You're kind of just trusting that they're not doing anything. I think trust is a big word probably these days.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. All right, we are coming to the end of the panel, so we're going to do a lightning round. We're going to start down there with Rebecca, and everyone has 45 seconds to just leave the audience with a parting message around AI. There's a lot of hype, but we also have seen a lot of value in AI. So what message do you want to leave the audience with today in 45 seconds or less?
Yes, good point. I would say, I'm very bullish on AI, so embrace it, but take into account, how you are implementing AI from a privacy, from a security, and from an accuracy standpoint. And the good news is there are really some strong ways that we can build in those guardrails. And so if you're really thinking about it and you propose it to your management team with those guardrails, you're probably going to have a lot more success in getting your project approved.
Thank you. Keyona?
Many things to say. Guess I'll just talk really fast. So when it comes to AI, my biggest message I want to impart to the group is that it's yours. In as much as it is ours or anyone else's, like this is technology that is built for you to be using. And I encourage you and challenge you all to, for the next decade, be prepared to take on this challenge and get to know AI intimately. It's not apart from you. This is now a part of our reality. When we talked about earlier, what is AI? And it's so fuzzy because we all talk about it in so many different ways. Get unfuzzy about it and do so intentionally and quickly. Because when we allow conversations like these to be over our heads, our businesses and our lives take the hit. So my encouragement is to take ownership of AI because it is yours to take ownership of, and get to know it deeply.
Thank you, Kayla.
That's honestly what I was gonna say, but I guess kind of like in a different way. I was gonna say like, in the next few years and beyond, there are going to be a lot of changes, a lot of new things you can adopt, a lot of tools for your disposal. Instead of, waiting until everyone else adopts it, waiting until it becomes normalized, don't be afraid of it. I say, go on, as soon as it comes out, learn about it. There are so many resources on YouTube or like Stack Overflow or or even ask ChatGPT about ChatGPT. I've done that before. It can draw you diagrams. Don't be afraid of it because you can delve into it and really understand at the bare bones what it is. And I think a lot of people with new things, they're scared because it seems really, really powerful and you don't know how it does the things that it does. How does it quip with you? It's a computer. But once you kind of delve in and kind of get to the bare bones, there's nothing to be afraid of. And I think the more you know, the more you can kind of implement and more you can work with it.
Love that. Shout out to the Birmingham AI meetup. If you don't know what it is, come and ask me about it.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Rich?
And yeah, finally, I think just don't be overwhelmed by it. Nobody knows everything about this stuff, and then lots of people know very little about it. There are tons and tons of tools out there, but focus on the problems that you're trying to solve, or focus on the feature or the product that you're trying to create. Niche skills are really valuable as well. So again, you could be a generalist, generally good at AI, or you could really kind of get into something, become a data scientist, really specifically around Python, MATLAB, and even then, within a particular industry or within a particular area of expertise, that's when you become really valuable as an employee or as an individual.
I love it. Well, thank you all. Let's give them a round of applause. Appreciate it. Enjoy Sloss Tech. We're done. Please come talk to these amazing panelists. Thank you.